The next few weeks are essentially rewiring us from the inside out. Um, yeah, it's how we think, what we believe, how we love, what we're fighting for. Life is giving us the space to rewrite our story. One thought, one choice, one truth at a time. This is a start of a new kind of clarity, one that doesn't come from the outside world, but from the voice that's ready to be heard within us. So let's break down the energy together. We'll start with the numerology, then we'll move to astrology, and then, of course, the cards. But first, thank you. Thank you for being here, your support, your love, your time. Thank you. I send all that love right back to you. It's my hope, my intention that by the end of our time together, you now have more tools, insight, wisdom to go forward with a sense of confidence, clarity, with love. So hi, I'm Tilly. This is Tarot with Tilly. And welcome to your Daily Focus, November the 10th, 2025. Okay, we have the energy of the 10. The 10 is about how we are always evolving, how we are always transforming, how the circle of life is constantly in flow, that we move from one season to the next. Like yesterday it was fall here, today definitely winter because the snow is on the ground today. It was not yesterday. But in our lives too. And we have to give space for our springs, our summers, our winters, our autumns. It's a time, 10 energy is really a time to rewrite your story going forward. If you were to start today and start writing tomorrow's day and the next day and the next day, and eventually, your successes and your dreams and your desires all becoming a reality for you, what would that story look like? And remember, there is nothing to say that you have to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. That we can reinvent ourselves anytime we want, but this energy is asking us to do just that. 1 plus 0 is a 1, and that is our independence. That is the I am. That is the trailblazer. This is us going forward with a sense of confidence that we have the capabilities of whatever we find along our path. And if we look at the daily numerology, it'd be a 2 plus a 1 plus a 9. That gives us a 12 energy. And the 12 energy is about being in the moments and looking at our situations, the events in our life that are happening. Kind of detached, kind of more with a logical approach rather than an emotional approach. Many times when we strip that thought away from taking away the emotion from it, we see it under a new light, a different perspective, a new understanding. It's a time to understand what we have control of, what we need to have control of, what we need to let go of when it comes to control, or maybe we need to surrender to something. And 1 plus 2 is a 3, so that is transformation. That is our thoughts, that is our voice, that is our communication. That is about our curiosity and going forward, allowing our heart to be led with curiosity. Coming together as a group as well. Okay, astrology, sun is in Scorpio. Our moon is in Cancer as we begin our day, but shortly after noon, the moon will enter Leo, Eastern Standard Time. So we start the day in this beautiful, tranquil kind of vibe, home and family, love, safety, security, and then we move into Leo, and this morning is about setting the stage for us to get up and stand upon it. Now, there isn't much to report in the sky today, and I took the weekend off, and thank you for that. I was exhausted. I'm so glad. And you know what? I came back after 12 hours and then the travel time home, and I sat down, and what I did was I started to look at what I could talk about. And Mercury retrograde Yes, Mercury retrograde was in the mix. Um, and I went down a rabbit hole. I thought, what's happening during the Mercury retrograde? And before I knew it, it was 2 hours after that. I was exhausted, and there was no way that I could even keep the thoughts straight. So I reviewed it again today. Okay, so it actually went stationary retrograde, I think around 2:30 or so Eastern Standard Time, on the 9th at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. So the 6th energy, it could be about embracing the things that we truly love and have a passion for, and deepening that bond with that thing, or it could be with somebody. Definitely, it is also an energy of love and coming together and supporting each other, embracing each other, growing that bond, deepening that relationship. But it could be, like I said, with our dreams, our goals, our desires. It could be where we need to change our habits, our behaviors to be able to walk that path we want to walk. Maybe there is a habit or behavior that works against us right now. Or if we could only do that, like maybe you're not a morning person. And in order to really step into that, you need to be a morning person. And starting to, even though you'd prefer to sleep till later, you're setting your alarm early and getting a start on each day, and starting that habit that way. Whatever it is, small, large. It could be our routines as well, shaking up our routines a little bit. Okay, so it'll stay retrograde until November the 28th. So the rest of the month is retrograde month. And then it'll go stationary direct in Scorpio. Yes, it goes back from Sagittarius into Scorpio, and then it stops at 22 degrees of Scorpio. So now we have the most powerful number in numerology. It stops at the 22 energy. And that is about, when we have our ducks in a row, when we make that commitment to ourselves, when we make that promise to ourselves, towards a dream, a desire, a goal, a passion, and we consistently show up and apply action, strategy, planning towards that goal or dream, things can come together so quickly. It'll just be like a serendipity kind of day. This happened and that happened. If I hadn't been here, I never would have talked to so and so who told me about this. So I phoned them, and oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what they told me. It's that kind of energy. So that means that this retrograde will start in Sagittarius, which is a fire energy, but ends in water, right? Scorpio. So it begins with enthusiasms and plans and big ideas, kind of where we are right now. And it ends with truth and healing and definitely a deeper emotional clarity. Now, in between, what I found fascinating about this was in between, Mercury meets with the rest of our personal planets. Mars, the Sun, Venus, and yes, even the Moon will make an appearance. So this retrograde is extremely very personal. Okay, okay. I got them here. November the 13th, Mercury conjuncts Mars. So our words will have impact. We'll be making decisions. We'll be having debates. Communication can become very fiery, driven by emotion, by conviction. And then on November the 18th, we have Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. So our conversations get real, right? We pull back those layers. We dig deep. We go towards, uncovering the secrets and the motives. And those deeper layers will begin to surface under that time. November 20, Mercury will conjunct the Sun. The aha moment, the epiphanies. Clarity within the confusion. And then November the 24th, Mercury conjuncts Venus. So the heart and mind reunites. And it's a time when we finally find some kind of closure to misunderstandings or some kind of misalignment in our lives. And then November 28th, Mercury will go stationary direct. And that's when we begin putting the pieces together and applying what we have learned through this walk. So now until the end of November, Mercury will be walking us back through our thoughts, our conversations, the decisions we've made. And then I think it's, well, luck makes it easier. I should have this memorized. December 11th. December 11th, Mercury will return to Sagittarius. And then when we pass that 6-degree point that we started at, that is the new starting point. That is when the forward movement truly begins again. Okay, we step into this new energy. And Mercury doesn't end up, even though Mercury is a pretty fast planet, because it went into retrograde, it won't meet up with Venus, the Sun, or Mars until we have gone into at least January of 2026. So these are the final big conversations we're having. It's that final deep dive conversation before our next big chapter begins. So now until November 28th, it's less about chasing our new ideas, more about revisiting what needs clarity when it comes to our ideas, our goals, our dreams. And yes, Mercury starts in Sagittarius, so we're looking right now at our big goals, excitement, let's do this energy. But the retrograde will say, slow down, go back. Make sure the foundation's solid. And yeah, under any Mercury retrograde, but this one especially, travel arrangements, okay, could get delayed. Project stalling, miscommunication that forces us to rethink an approach or a decision that we might have made in haste. But it's not so much about, double check your emails that you're sending. Make sure you got all the wording, and, the everything electronic is going to probably break down around you. And I mean, those things will probably happen, but this is kind of, I would have to say it's almost a rarity. Okay, when Mercury jumps back into Scorpio on the 18th, our tone will deepen. It stops being about what we're doing, but I think it turns to why, the why behind it. Why are we chasing that goal? Or why are we holding on to that story? We get honest with ourselves. And we have been working on this the whole year, and now we come down to the final months of 2025, and yes, this is the emotional cleanup period. And yeah, it's probably not going to feel all that much fun. But it will clear up space for real transformations, real breakthroughs to happen in our lives. So if something didn't make sense, I would say more so in October, because it is the Mercury retrograde and Mercury's path. But things might start connecting now. And I'm not saying it's limited to that. I think, this is really about all the little planets kind of talking before we go through all the major planets changing signs for many years in 2026, starting those true new paths. We get ourselves right before all of that energy comes flailing in at us. And it's going to be great energy, don't get me wrong, but we want to be prepared. And this energy that we are walking now until the middle of December is all about, redefining who we are, hitting the reset button on who we want to be going forward, what we want to represent, what we want to do. It's not your typical Mercury retrograde. Okay, Mercury's conversing with every part of our personal experience, the layers of who we are. Okay, so we've got Mercury, and that is how we think and how we communicate and how we talk, and Mars, how we act, how we have passion in our lives, how we utilize that passion, how we transform that passion into action. Venus, what we love, what we value. The sun, okay? Ourselves, that's us. We are the sun. What we believe about ourselves and what we can do and what we can't do and what we can master. And then the moon, how we can feel it all. Our personal planets are all in a conversation. Mercury is heading it. By the time Mercury goes direct, there will be people who have, well, I mean, many people will notice something shifted. Okay, it could be their tone, their mindset. It could be their actual desires and dreams, the way they express love, the way they make decisions. So we're at the beginning of this wonderful, wonderful energy. I mean, mark this one if there was one to bookmark, because this does take you through the Mercury retrograde. Look at that. We have the Ace of Swords, the aha moment, the epiphany. So, and I'm talking to so many people that feel like they're not getting anywhere, like they're under this heavy energy. And I think we are all going through this, and I think this is this great healing moment that has come in, this shift, this reset, this path opening us up to being who we want to be, or meant to be, even before all the outer planets start to, and that Saturn and Neptune going into Aries, and we'll have Uranus going into Gemini, and we'll have, well, Pluto's already settled, but Pluto will not now retrograde back out of Aquarius ever again. It's in Aquarius to stay in the first couple of degrees, just gaining ground. And then who am I forgetting? Jupiter. Jupiter moves into Leo, fire energy. So how exciting is all of that for us? Okay. Um, I'm going to shuffle that again. But we got the roll up our sleeves and get to work under there. I wonder, because it did catch my attention. Oh, they want me to mix it right up here on you guys. Okay. And I did clear the cards like I always do. Okay. Let's see what the cards have to tell us. So our underlying energy for, it's today, but I'm getting this more of like over the next month, over the next maybe month and a half, but for sure the next month, what we're looking at for the energy here. So bookmark it, because this will be very, very good to remind yourself of this energy in the background. And of course, we'll talk about those days when they meet and meet up in the sky, everybody. Okay, so we have the Hermit here. We've walked out of the past. We're in the here and now. We're wearing white, so we are looking towards a brand new path. We have the tree of life in the background full of fruit. I rarely mention that, but there it is. So we have a great harvest. In other words, we have grown in our talents and our abilities and who we are as people. And now it's time to look forward. We hold that wand with, and it's got a light on it. It's going to shine the way. I mean, that is our heart center, the pulse of it, leading us. So it's following our gut. It's following our intuition. It's following our heart, our gut, our what has been calling to us. Maybe it's that little voice in your head. And we're starting to look at what would it take? Would it really take? What would be the first steps I need to do? Four of Cups. Well, I guess the first thing we need to do is be grateful for what we already have in our lives, to look around and appreciate all the things we have around us in order to help us grow, in order to help us move forward. We don't need to go out and find it or get it, it's already there for us. To be grateful for those little things. And once we are grateful for those little things in our lives, and, please chime up. Some of my longtime viewers out there that have been journaling, that do things like this on a daily basis, and join me in it, because it makes your world so incredible. There was a study done. Oh, there's lots of studies done, but they found, okay, out of a lot of these studies, they find that people who keep a gratitude journal live longer, are healthier, sleep well, more ambitious, luckier, I mean, scientists are looking at this thing called gratitude, and it's absolutely free. So they don't want to tell us too much about it because we can get this for free by loving ourselves and knowing that we are deserving, and by looking around and finding all the telltale signs that we are deserving. And more is on its way. The King of Swords, we get focused. We get focused on a drive, a directive, where we want to put our focus, where we want to put our attention, the path we want to walk. And if that path is not there, we will use that sword and cut a path through the brushes, through the bramble, through the bramble. Is a bramble a word? I think I've had this conversation with you guys before. I think it is. We have to kind of watch here because our focus will be our focus can be so narrowed that we don't see all the other things happening that might not be that great if we were to pay attention to it. If we're looking towards getting that promotion at work, all of a sudden we're honed in, we're doing everything possible, and we are failing having those relationships with our family, our friends, maybe taking part in our hobbies and those little things that make us happy and joyful. Maybe we kind of lose a lot of that, putting so much focus or time or energy in one area. So I would warn you on that, but really this is the time to build your focus on something. For him to be out in the middle like that, following the hermit here, I would have to say that this is a time to really focus on the truest things that you want in your life. Yeah, what matters most to you. And then we have the devil. What are you tethered to? What holds you back? I think we'll find out a little bit during this Mercury retrograde as Mercury goes and talks to Venus and Mars and the moon and the sun and starts getting the conversations going within us to find out what is really the reason that we've held back. It could be a fear of succeeding. Wow, if I succeed, then that means that all these years that I've been procrastinating, I should have been working. And you'll beat yourself up over that. And you'll feel like a failure, even though you're succeeding. Or maybe you have a fear of failing because everybody said, oh, that'll never go over. And you really believe it will. Or maybe you just grew up with parents that said, or peers that said, or teachers or mentors that said, what makes you think that you are worthy of something like that? There's only a few special people in the world that are able to do that. And you think you're one of them? What makes you so great? Get in line. You'll never make money doing that. You better suck it up and look at this avenue. It'll be easier for you. And it'll put a roof over your head and it'll be good enough. Don't go that way. Nobody makes money doing it that way. Things like that. Those little voices from our childhood and our teen years and even throughout our early 20s and stuff. We're taking in all the advice because we want to succeed. And in that advice, we are led astray many a times. And by looking at it and understanding it, it loses its power on us and we get off of that wheel and get onto the wheel of fortune. Okay, we will go to our ancient stones. I'm still tired. It was a long day today, so um anyways, creativity, creative expression, and trust your vision. Trust your vision. I think that is probably one of the most important things we can follow over the next 6 weeks or so is following our own vision. Okay, creativity. Somebody told me when you feel this, like there's spider webs, like you've just walked through a spider web and it's stuck all on your face. And that's what I'm feeling right now, that spirit is very close. So, um, but I'm just reading a book, so I wonder how they will actually come in here. As the great Michelangelo said, "The sculptor sees the statue and the stone before they even begin. They receive the inner vision of what they're being called to create and let themselves be moved. Nature must be the best muse around. Her effortless beauty inspiring artists throughout the ages. This is the card of the artist, the creative that we all have within us. So do you have a creative idea that you're being called to bring to life? Is there a creation that's being asked to you to show up to it? A book, a painting, a business, a project, a relationship. The creativity card is assigned to tend to your creations each and every day and bring them to life. There are ideas that are wanting to be expressed and breathed into life. Concepts of wisdom that's longing to be brought into the physical. Creativity is our natural state, for life itself is creative. You are a creative being, and the more you creatively express yourself, the more alive you will likely feel. Let yourself be a channel for these creations that are ready to be born. The artist is the vessel by which the beauty and the consciousness can be birthed upon this world. Creativity is a mystical act, for it requires that we merge with the sacred to birth something new. The soul inquiries are, what creations are you being called to bring into form? And really, that is an excellent question that we need to ask ourselves during this time. It will set the stage for 2026, and there is so many new powerful beginnings, not even on a personal level, but on a planetary level as well. All of Earth will feel these changes. That's why we can say people from this decade or this time's length, they're named this because they all carry these traits with them. And that's our outer planets at work, changing signs, changing the dynamics of how we go forward. Okay, we'll cut the cards. And what animal did we have? Look at this. We have the turtle again with fertility. The turtle is back with fertility. So, yeah, it's about giving life to something, a dream, a desire, a want. Turtle is farther back this way. Creation. Once again, creativity, fertility. Patience, stability, longevity, protection. Most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept trying even when there seemed to be no hope at all. So we're being told that this is a great opportunity coming for a new project, and we have waited long enough for this. But Turtle reminds you that slow and steady can in fact win the race. Turtle tells you that having patience and slowing down but keeping a steady pace will get you further than acting impatient or frustrated. It then goes on about the pregnancy and whatnot. And I see that. Yes, you could be getting pregnant during this time. Yes, you may hear of somebody close to you becoming pregnant. That's the fertility. But it could also you giving birth to that idea, that goal, that dream, that desire that you hold within you. So it really is a beautiful 6 weeks. It may not feel all that beautiful as we're going through it, but allow yourself to go with the flow. Allow yourself to have moments that you can sit in silence and talk to your heart. Talk to your solar plexus, that power center. Talk to your throat about your voice coming alive. Talk to your root chakra, your sacral chakra. Talk to yourself, your heart within. Ask yourself, what are some of the most important things that I want to step into in 2026 or take with me into 2026 that will almost guarantee happiness and joy and abundance and prosperity, success. And until we meet again, remember, I do love you.